Sweet. Welcome to Squaw Valley. My name is Stein Retzloff.
What's good? I'm Thor Retzloff.
Today we're going to chat about our whole partnership with World Tree Company and kind of the story around how that entire relationship came to fruition and yeah, what's next and what we're going to do with it. We actually met World Tree at a Globe Forum in Vancouver when we were working with Sea Legacy, Paul Nicklin and Christina Mintermeyer. And I was walking through the conference room and found a random booth with a bunch of trees and a bunch of really interesting looking wood and decided to go over and chat about what their product was and ended up talking to Wendy, who's the CEO and founder of World Tree. Yeah. And she had mentioned that the Empress Tree is the fastest growing hardwood in the world. It's also the lightest hardwood in the world. So 1 acre of Empress Trees draws down 1,103 metric tons of carbon after every 10 years. Not only does this tree seem incredibly useful for just any type of lumber product or sustainable product, but it also regrows from its stump up to 7 times. So there's no need to replant or remove stumps. It's an incredibly sustainable tree that's also acts as an incredible carbon offset program. It is now a non-invasive, non-GMO species up here in North America, and it grows at up to 2,200 feet of elevation and in 70 degrees Fahrenheit. So now we basically are going on an expedition to Adam Fiella to go ski the northernmost mountain range in the world. So we are going to be flying from here in Lake Tahoe all the way out to the northernmost airport in the world of Longyearbyen, and then jumping on a couple snowmobiles to just get out to base camp. From there, we'll be on skis for about 10 days. But we wanted to really offset our carbon footprint from our travels to have like a really kind of nailed down expedition with purpose. So one of our buddies asked which offset program we were going to use last week, and it was a really great question. We had done some research, and a lot of the carbon offset programs that you check on Google are pretty open-ended. It gives you an estimate about what you'll owe, but then it's hard to measure. You really have no idea where those donations go to. And so then all of a sudden last week, I thought about the World Tree and decided to send a quick email out to Wendy and see what their thoughts were on us partnering with them to be able to basically start a relationship and have a very specific and measurable carbon offset program as a partner. She messaged back the next day within 12 hours asking if we could jump on a call as soon as possible. So we actually just finished a backcountry skin and came in and then jumped on a Skype call with Wendy, the CEO and founder, and then Kathy, the COO, and discussed our project around Svalbard and us trying to enter into a new era of sustainable polar expeditions and exploration, where our polar mentor, Doug Staup, has been doing expeditions to the Arctic and Antarctic for 2 decades now. But as we are approaching the next couple years, he's handing off this essentially a ceremonial polar torch so that we can kind of lead the next generation or the next era of just polar expeditions. We had mentioned that to the World Tree team, and they were incredibly receptive to the entire project. Yeah, within that conversation, a minimum investment in Empress Trees at the time was about $3,000 for 1 acre, and that's the minimum you can do. And they said that 1 acre of Empress Tree on average offsets the travel carbon footprint of an average North American for their lifetime of travel. So we were pretty blown away by that statistic, and we're left with asking what we can do or what the minimum investment we can make in World Tree to offset our carbon footprint. Wendy and Kathy looked at each other, and next thing you know, they offered us a partnership where they wanted to support us with an acre of Empress Trees to start off. So our first acre of Empress Tree to offset this one expedition. One of the things we're trying to do is transition from the terminology of the phrase saying, yes, we donated to a carbon offset program on our expedition. So you can't. And one of the things that we all of a sudden came up with is, why not switch the terminology into from donating to carbon offset programs into investing into carbon offset programs. So that is something that we thought that is way more measurable and tangible for us to even complete these feedback loops to all of our partners. So now our company is invested in World Empress Trees, and they call them the Eco Tree now. So for all the lumber that is sold from our lot and our acreage, we get 25% return on investment after each year. So we've always been hit up by different companies and organizations asking us, like, what's a sustainable wood product that we can use for cutlery or anything, like even skis or just different manufacturing. People are always asking, what is a good product for that? And yeah, now we have formalized the partnership with World Tree, and we are working on a very, very specific and measurable carbon offset program that we're excited to share with everyone and see how everything's moved forward. On the topic of that, we didn't necessarily know how many pounds of CO2 we were emitting on our travel and how many different Empress trees it would take to offset that. So Thor did some research, and he created an incredible design and a format to actually understand the numbers behind what we're trying to do and what we're trying to ultimately have as a lasting impact for this partnership.
Well, and so one thing that really kind of stands out with the whole previous idea of carbon offsets is that everything was very vague and ambiguous. And the way we operate as a business, Intrepid, is that we're all about closed circuit, specific projects. You do it and you're done. And so that's within like a time-bound frame. So what we've done is that we've kind of outlined this next expedition, detailing where we're starting from here, right here in Squaw Valley, and where we're ending here in Adamfela. And so what we got a couple different modes of transportation. So kind of the objective here is to outline how much carbon is emitted by each mile of travel we're doing. So what we broke down here is we had 50 miles one way for driving, and then you got all this air travel, and then some snowmobile traveling, and then we doubled all that. Over here we got some conversions where we look at the average, and there's sources online and stuff, but I just took very much averages around this, but like 1 pound of CO2 is emitted per mile. That's off like a 14 mile per gallon car. So we went with that. That puts us about 100 pounds of carbon dioxide emitted on our drive to and from. And then the crazy part is airliners emit an insane amount of carbon dioxide. The first number that I was working with was 53.3 pounds of carbon dioxide per air mile. And if you look at that, that's the airliner as a whole, and that brought our carbon footprint out to almost 1 million for this trip.
But we're not trying to offset the entire plane's
Right.
carbon. There's several hundred passengers.
Right, and so we kind of took a step back and said, all right, how much is our seats worth? That came down to 0.24 per seat, times that by Stein and myself, and we're looking at this number here. And so you add all that up, what we got is that we've got a rough number of how much carbon we're going to be emitting during this trip, this expedition with purpose. On top of that, we're looking at our other members of Team Intrepid. Eric is going to Everest. He sent me his itinerary. I calculated it. That's what I got here. And then Taylor's doing some travels during this month as well. And I got her calculation here. But the cool part is that World Tree has already broken down their system into tangible, measurable statistics. And so what I've done here is I took their main 10-year to a 1 year, 103 tons, to a month, and that month into a pound. So we got 17,160 pounds per month over a 10-year longevity. If we look at it in that framework, we can take that drawdown, subtract it from our aggregate total here of all of our traveling during this month, and that leaves us with a surplus of 4,740 pounds of carbon dioxide that is actually invested into us going on this expedition for this 1 month. And the goal behind all that is that we want to be able to quantify, show a brand that caused marketing behind supporting our story, supporting what we're trying to do, and show them the feedback and point to a tree and point to a product at the end of the day.
Moving forward, it is a really awesome opportunity to even have the concept of the story around funding our expeditions with purpose by selling trees. It sounds absolutely ludicrous if you think about it, but
if you really think about it, whoa.
It's actually could become a reality, and if this works, if this system works, we are pivoting ourselves to actually having a system where we could draw down and reverse carbon offsets significantly among us as individuals and as a company and as an organization, but also working to help others who work with us and our partners to do the same. Yeah. So yeah, we're incredibly fortunate to be working with them, and we'll be talking
to build out these ideas and make it at the individual level. We want to see people generate value. mean, this opportunity is grandiose and absolutely motivating, you know?
Yeah.
We're going to be able to point this and say, we did this expedition, this is what happened, this is what we drew down.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought to think about how many different companies are trying to even just get on board or add budgets to offsetting their carbon footprint via expeditions. But it is on another level interesting to see how we're taking it a step further by investing in something that's actually incredibly measurable.
Yeah.
And I mean, Thor found out to the pound emitted on how much we are all individually basically producing,
Yeah.
but then how much we're actually offsetting by this investment in World Tree. So
We're excited.
Said, yeah, we're really stoked.
This is the first World Tree story of many, because this is going to be one of our core narratives. 100%.
Yeah, and then we're trying. Yeah, every expedition from here on out will definitely be working with offset programs, and then being able to show our sponsors that it's just another key aspect to Adventures with Purpose. And yeah, the ball is moving, and
the trees are growing.
The trees are growing.
The ball is moving, the tree is growing. We're stoked. But stay tuned for more.